Coronavirus, a respiratory syndrome originating from Wuhan, China, has been the catalyst of a complete lifestyle change for everyone around the globe, bringing about many struggles, such as the isolation and battle with mental illness. This is a common struggle that has brought out the best of some people, such as our frontline workers putting their lives on the line for the community. However, it has also put the spotlight on an atrocious issue in the world. There has been a significant increase of hate crimes against Asians since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, with major cities seeing crime rates that are 600 and 700% higher than the previous year. Hate crime rates against Asians are increasing exponentially in places like Vancouver, Ottawa, as well as outside North America, around the world, in Italy, Russia, the UK, everywhere. Discrimination against the Asian community is a prominent issue that has always existed throughout history. Our history is stained with Asian racism, such as the Chinese Massacre of 1871, then the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. However, the issue seems to go over people's heads, and now, racist ideologies are being instilled in people's minds because of people like Donald Trump using his powerful platform to be blatantly racist towards the Chinese community, referring to COVID-19 in a racist way, calling it amongst other names. And it is this way of thinking that puts many innocent Asians, especially vulnerable ones such as the elderly, the target of these hate crimes. Little light is brought to the issue, and it takes something tragic to happen for people to notice. But these underlying hostilities have always existed, and the COVID-19 pandemic is the perfect excuse for them to act on it. However, the amount of discrimination nearly every Asian has faced in everyday life, even before the pandemic, is something that needs to be addressed. During your life, have you ever experienced any type of discrimination or treated differently?
Yeah, honestly, like in my entire life, I have experienced some form of Asian hate in one form or another.
It's one of those things where there are notions of microaggressions where people may not realize they're saying something racist.
It's in the small things that happen to you that make you more aware of being different.
Little things that would be like, oh, you're probably a math teacher because you're Asian, is usually one of the things that I get.
It does perpetuate that stereotype, like, oh yeah, all Asians are smart and good at math.
When I was younger with kids, it started at an early age.
I remember all these kids would make jokes about like Chinese people. At the time, I didn't really know because I was a little kid.
I was like 10, just playing in the playground. You know, they would call me names, like they'd say chink or ching chong.
That's when I became aware that I was Asian and that being Asian was different.
But some things being served like noodles.
It was the first time I got asked if I ate rice. We're also all young at the time, and I don't think they thought it was racism.
A co-worker of mine who happens to be white and part of senior management. One day, they approached me and asked me, can you recommend a good nanny? And I was caught off guard by that question because it just shows you how indirect discrimination,
based on the stereotypes that our society has kind of created,
people of my background experience every day.
I've tried to find my best way to blend in.
The stereotypes and discrimination Asians have faced growing up being a minority is something we've learned to simply brush off our shoulders. However, the impact it has is tremendous, as it makes many shameful of their differences, and unfortunately, these problems have been escalating exponentially to a whole new level with the COVID-19 pandemic causing the rise of Asian hate crime.
I think it's so disturbing and heartbreaking.
Getting harassed or getting like assaulted, sometimes even killed in some cases. I think to myself, like, that could be me or like my siblings, my mom or dad or anybody.
Imagine if that was your grandma being attacked or your grandpa. It kind of hits closer to home.
I believe it was in Atlanta, in Georgia, with what happened, all those spas. I think that affected me personally because For things to be put off as someone had a bad day, it hurts me.
There have been a number of like just attacks that our memberships have reported, feelings of being unsafe wherever they are, not wanting to leave the house. They're just out on the streets and they've been harassed, attacked by people. Somebody got carjacked just because like they were just in the streets of Oakland and then somebody took the door. So just kicked the person out of the car onto the door, like your grandmother or something like that.
By making them feel less than they are, you know, by attacking them. And I think it's scary. You know, I feel scared for myself, for these people that were attacked, you know, because, you know, what is this world coming to?
Many of these hate crimes happening seem far away from our local community of York Region. However, they still strike fear into the hearts of Asians everywhere, no matter where you live.
I fear for like my siblings and even my like elderly like grandparents, just because they can't do much to like defend themselves.
Like I'm an Asian female, so I feel like being a female, you're already nervous, and then being a minority Asian female, it's kind of worse.
It would be less fear than, because, you know, I haven't experienced as much racism as maybe some other people. So, but
Anything can really happen anywhere. I feel like in the community that we live in such a bubble and we feel safe at all times. But in reality, life is so fragile and you never really know what's going to happen at any given time. I feel embarrassed for the people that believe the Asian community is responsible for COVID. And what good reason does it give any person to blame any specific Asian person for what happened?
There's no reason to disrespect someone who you don't even know and who hasn't done anything to you just because of how they look. Like, I'm like no different from my fellow Canadians. Like, a race shouldn't be blamed for infectious disease that occurred.
However, that is exactly what is happening everywhere, including York Region, as there are already hundreds of hate crimes that have occurred.
In the last year, I was harassed while reading in a park and was threatened to be reported to the police. A woman approached me, she berated me and accused me of not being able to read or speak English. And then she yelled at me to go back home to China. And then she stomped off, declaring that all Chinese people should go to jail. All of that happened to me because I was reading in a park. And I was made to feel so vulnerable. I was made to feel so small, made to feel like I didn't belong in this country.
I think a lot of it has to do with just the nature of how Asian people tend to be.
Part of Asian culture is to be respectful and polite and to not make a fuss.
Not speaking up, not rocking the boat. There's also the notions of the model minority myth, holding up Asians as that minority group that is doing really well. It's one of those things where they don't feel as much of the space to really bring up any complaints.
I think that a lot of times it goes untalked about, and it's only now that it's more in the media, so people are more aware of it.
This should be known that a lot of Asians are getting discriminated.
Like, I don't think that it'll all just go away with the pandemic going away, because I think it's something that still occurs in normal life before the pandemic. It's just more prevalent now.
Like that stigma of, oh, when you think of COVID-19, people are going to think of Asian people, and there's always going to be that like thought in the people's back of their heads.
Sure, some people will post Stop Asian Hate on social media. There definitely needs to be more than just a media post that's going to stop Asian hate, because yeah, sure, people are brought awareness, but some person can just easily swipe by it and just say, okay, go on with my day.
This raises a question. What should we do to work towards the issue? Raising awareness helps, but what should we do to truly put an end to this issue?
You know, educate themselves.
I think educating people is the main thing. and I think it has to start from young.
It starts at a young age where people need to learn, like being Asian, they should be proud of it, but it shouldn't be defined how you treat them.
I think a lot of it is already ingrained in them, the way they behave, because by the time they're too old, I think sometimes it's just harder for people to change.
People should just treat others the way they want to be treated.
You're not going to change hate overnight. What you can do is affect what you have locally, yourself, your family, your community.
And I think people need to stand up for what they believe in and stand up for each other, regardless of race.
As individuals, I think that people can not see them as like foreigners or people that's like not one of their own. All the multiculturalism that exists in Canada is what makes Canada great, that we can coexist peacefully.
There's more to everybody, any person, than the color of their skin.
The fate of our future lies within the next generation, and these are just some of the things we have to teach them, so Asian discrimination and stereotypes isn't something that is just normalized and something we have to brush off our shoulders. We must instill ideologies of equality and respect within them, and educate them on why discrimination against any culture is wrong and is something we must leave in the past. And most importantly, educate ourselves and grow past this issue, as now, more than ever, is a time where we must all be united and there for each other during this common struggle and lend each other a helping hand instead of pointing fingers.